While Caitlyn is fantastic and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA, there are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced when it comes to that.
Here we go again. Why is Caitlin Clark popular?
Caitlin Clark is only popular because she is white. That is a narrative that is very popular among the morons. Major moron, Monica McNutt, how she has a job, I absolutely know, at ESPN.
The one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her.
Why her?
Well, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
You think anybody cares if Dejournay Carrington knocks Kennedy Carter on her ass? No. You think anybody cares if Angel Reese misses her next 6 layups, falls down, shows her ass, and claims sexism? No. We only care that Caitlin Clark is playing. We only care that Caitlin Clark is getting beat up. We only care that Caitlin Clark is hitting a deep three. We only care that Caitlin Clark is getting poked in the eye. Everybody else can poke everybody else in the eye. The reason we care because her game is something we have not seen.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Clark Update. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today's story is one of the most explosive Caitlin Clark narratives spreading across social media, and every serious Clark fan needs to hear the full truth before believing the dramatic headlines. Before we begin, show that you're part of the Clark Update army by typing CC 100% in the comments. I always enjoy seeing Clark supporters come together and make their voices heard. With that said, let's waste no time and get directly into what is really happening.
Prevailing narrative that has been created around this season's WNBA play is that it's the league versus Caitlin Clark, and that is just absolutely false. It is unfair to the women that have been there building this league to this moment so that Caitlin Clark's popularity could take it to the next level.
I don't expect the race baiting to stop. I don't expect the hate to stop, the jealousy to stop, the sexism to stop, the bigotry to stop, the stupidity to stop. Because the people that tell you that Caitlin Clark is only popular because she's a white girl are full of shit. You either don't pay attention or you're too dumb.
The tension between Caitlin Clark and some of her loudest media critics has become increasingly intense. But a new viral claim has pushed the controversy into completely different territory. Posts and videos began declaring that Clark had filed a defamation lawsuit against ESPN analyst Monica McNutt, accusing her of using racially charged commentary to damage Clark's reputation, insult her supporters, and undermine one of the greatest popularity surges the WNBA has ever experienced. There is one major problem, however. No credible evidence confirms that such a lawsuit exists. If you appreciate fact-based coverage, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Most viewers still haven't subscribed even though it is completely free and takes only a moment. Your support helps us separate real developments from internet fiction. Now let's continue.
People aren't spending 3 hours of their time to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball because they're racially motivated.
For months, critics have focused on comments McNutt made while discussing the reasons behind Clark's extraordinary popularity. McNutt described Clark as a white player from the middle of America who represented something meaningful to a large number of people, leading some viewers to believe she was suggesting that Clark's race and background contributed significantly to her appeal.
Here's what Caitlin Clark said. Y'all come at me like this, I'm not doing any interviews with you. Y'all keep coming at it with these dumbasses, Monica McNutt. I'm done with you. I'm not doing interviews with you. We'll go play in the Unrivaled League, and let's see which league gets going. And then let's see where the hell we're at. Your dumbasses at ESPN want to get up there and be racist as hell towards me. I don't participate in racism. Next time I hear that bullshit, we ain't playing in a game that you're televised.
The important question is not why Clark supposedly reached a legal breaking point, because there is no verified lawsuit showing that she did. The real question is why so many people were immediately prepared to believe that she had finally taken her critics to court.
Now, none of these women, Monica McNutt, they're either too arrogant or too stupid to understand that what they've said all along about Caitlin Clark is just simply wrong.
If it was because she was white, Sabrina Ionescu would have changed and brought the WNBA and turned it on its head. But she is not turning the W upside down on its head like Caitlin Clark is.
Whoever these people are, none of these women are going to come back and say, yeah, you know what? We might have been wrong about, well, she's a white girl and that's the reason she's so popular.
Why did viral posts claim that McNutt was privately crying over legal papers? How did a controversial media discussion get transformed into an imaginary courtroom confrontation? And why were thousands of viewers willing to share the story before checking whether any official filing statement or credible report existed? That is the controversy we are examining today.
The women of the WNBA will continue their jealousy. They'll continue to hit, fight, knock Caitlin Clark on her ass, and Caitlin Clark's viewing will just go up, up, up.
The WNBA draft ticket prices have come out, and thanks to the Caitlin Clark effect, ticket prices have skyrocketed for the WNBA draft. In fact, they've doubled.
Hey Fever fans, it's Caitlin Clark. I can't wait to get to Indianapolis. I know you guys are excited. I am too. Go Fever!
There's no way the WNBA could have draft and not have Caitlin Clark involved. Caitlin Clark appearance, commentary, something that's going to have her in the venue in front of people. Even if it's just standing around, people are going to pay money to want to see that. Tell me once more how the Caitlin Clark effect isn't real.
Fasten your seatbelts, because this story demonstrates how quickly sports commentary can be turned into manufactured breaking news. Put CC 100% in the comments if you support Caitlin Clark and believe her achievements should be evaluated primarily through her talent, discipline, production, and influence on the game. At the same time, supporting Clark should never require spreading claims that have not been proven. Hard work and honesty both matter, especially when real people's reputations are involved.
But she was a white girl from the middle of America.
It's impossible for the women on television, the racist, sexist, to give Caitlin Clark, quote, her flowers.
The dispute began with an interview that initially appeared to be another broad conversation about women's basketball. ESPN analyst and longtime WNBA commentator Monica McNutt appeared on the BBC to discuss the enormous attention surrounding Clark's arrival in the professional league. During that conversation, McNutt offered an observation about Clark's identity, background, and connection with the audience, and those remarks immediately ignited a fierce argument.
Caitlin Clark's game sells. Her attitude sells. She doesn't talk much. When she does, we pay attention. Has nothing to do with her being a white girl. It has to do with her game. It has to do with taking Iowa. Has to do with deep threes. Has to do with behind the back, no look passes. We're drawn to those type players. Black, white, green, or purple.
McNutt said Clark was a white player from the heartland of America, and therefore represented a great deal to many people, even without deliberately making her identity part of her public message. That description changed the entire tone of the discussion, because many listeners interpreted it as an attempt to explain Clark's popularity through race, rather than through basketball.
There's the two sides who think she is only popular and does have the notoriety and recognition that she does because she is white. There is the other side that says, you guys are crazy, you're all jealous of her, and she is just talented.
McNutt also acknowledged that Clark was powerful, exciting, highly marketable, and capable of attracting enormous attention. Nevertheless, critics believe the racial framing overshadowed those compliments. To them, McNutt was no longer simply evaluating Clark's shooting range, passing vision, competitiveness, leadership, or record-breaking performances. They felt she was arguing that Clark's success came partly from what she represented demographically. That was the moment when a basketball conversation became a deeply emotional cultural dispute.
Why have all these fans come to see Caitlin? And all the little suburban white girls have hopped on board because Caitlin Clark, she resonates with them more so than the angry black lesbians who dominate the WNBA.
The backlash arrived almost immediately. Critics argued that McNutt's wording implied white supporters were drawn to Clark mainly because she looked like them, rather than because she was an extraordinary player producing highlights, breaking records, and creating excitement almost every time she stepped onto the floor.
I'm going to need all the race baiters who explain Caitlin Clark's popularity simply because she's white to explain why 10 million more people watched her last year than Paige Becker's, also white, this year. And a lot of people, of course, said she had Angel Reese as the villain. 18.9 million, the most ever. The 18.5 million did not involve Angel Reese. It involved USC, South Carolina. Guess who's this year? Game involved. That was 10 million down from last year. South Carolina. Two biggest names in college basketball this year. Actually, they were in this Final Four. They were in this championship game. And yet, the ratings tanked. The ratings were over 50% less.
Several commentators pointed to what they viewed as an obvious inconsistency. They asked whether it would be considered offensive to say that Aja Wilson, Angel Reese, or another prominent black athlete could inspire young black girls who see themselves represented on the court. Most people would recognize that representation can matter. The disagreement emerged because critics believed Clark's supporters were being portrayed as racially motivated rather than simply inspired.
After the women's NCAA championship, viewership numbers were released where Clark in Iowa set a record for the 4 most watched games ever in the women's Final Four involved Iowa and Caitlin Clark. People are going to tell you that the reason Caitlin Clark was so popular in college was her rivalry with Angel Reese. But there is no Angel Reese. There was no Angel Reese. There was South Carolina. Angel Reese played at LSU.
To those viewers, the discussion no longer affected Clark alone. It appeared to cast suspicion on every young supporter who waited in line for an autograph, carried a handmade sign, wore a number 22 jersey, or dreamed of becoming a basketball player after watching her perform. Families who believed they were celebrating a gifted athlete suddenly felt as though their enthusiasm was being analyzed as evidence of racial preference. Whether McNutt intended that interpretation or not, it became the emotional center of the backlash.
There is just so much statistical data to prove why people are invested and interested and can't stop looking at Caitlin Clark. Like, she has broken a record for records. As a rookie, she has done things nobody else has done. Stats do not require race as a prerequisite. They just are what they are.
Tickets for Monday's upcoming WNBA draft have nearly doubled since last year. Attendees this year will pay $99 or more to sit in the lower tier. Last year when Clark was drafted, the tickets were $50.
McNutt may have believed she was making a broader point about identity, culture, marketing, and representation in American sports. Many members of the audience, however, heard something more dismissive. They believed the implication was that Clark had received attention she did not entirely earn, and that her popularity had been inherited through race and geography, rather than built through years of practice, self-control, competitive excellence, and a rare collection of basketball abilities.
You stand up to bullies. You don't acquiesce. Because when you acquiesce or apologize, it will never stop. You stand up to bullies. You tell them go F themselves.
That interpretation caused the controversy to spread far beyond the original interview. Fans did not forget the remarks, commentators repeatedly replayed them, and social media accounts used them as evidence in a larger argument about how Clark is discussed. The disagreement became another match dropped into an already volatile sports media environment.
And Caitlin Clark does have a further 3-point range than even Steph Curry, and that is just kind of bonkers. Think about how popular Steph Curry is. Caitlin Clark shoots farther away on average than he does.
It all comes back to Caitlin Clark's popularity. I believe it is based on basketball more than anything else. Look at what went viral from the Letterman clip, her playing basketball.
People from several different corners of the media quickly accused McNutt of race baiting, unfairness, and taking an unnecessary shot at a young athlete whose primary public act had been playing basketball at an exceptional level. Independent creators, political commentators, former athletes, and Clark supporters argued that racial narratives were being inserted into a story that could be explained by her performances, personality, accessibility, and ability to generate unforgettable moments.
Caitlin Clark made the comments to Time magazine. Monica McNutt recently said on BBC, perhaps a big reason for Caitlin Clark's popularity is she's white and from the Midwest.
The Monica McNutt stuff, and specifically with this level of media, we're talking about with ESPN, their issue with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark represents Trump America, MAGA America. They see her and they say, this is someone that everybody who roots for probably voted for Donald Trump, and I hate Donald Trump, and I hate those red hats, and I hate everything that represents to me, because to me that represents race.
One analyst summarized the anger by arguing that the remarks did not merely question Clark's rise. They also questioned the sincerity of the children who admired her. Other critics said connecting race to the enthusiasm of young fans went too far, because children often support athletes for uncomplicated reasons. They see a spectacular shot, an exciting pass, a fearless competitor, or someone who makes them want to play. Treating that admiration as evidence of hidden prejudice struck many people as insulting, and some commentators described the framing as a new low.
And little girls said, hey, I can relate to Caitlin Clark. She's like us. She has a boyfriend. There's a lot of parents that feel real comfortable taking their kids to a game.
ESPN and claimed that Monica McDougal is an NBA analyst. Obviously, Monica never played in the NBA. Monica wasn't even good enough to play in the WNBA. Maybe that's why Monica seems to be jealous of Caitlin Clark.
The backlash continued growing on social media, where supporters circulated footage of Clark signing autographs for children from many racial backgrounds. Fans shared images of her greeting families, embracing young players, and interacting with supporters after games. Those posts were intended to challenge the claim that Clark's audience was narrow, exclusive, or united by a single racial identity. The message from her defenders was simple. People from many communities enjoy watching her play.
Paige Beckers is a terrific player. She'll capture the imagination a little. She'll do some commercials, but she's not going to be Caitlin Clark because she doesn't have that kind of game. Don't try to compare her to Diana Taurasi or Miller's sister, Cheryl Miller, Tamika Catchings. No, her game is different. It's better. It's flashier. It resonates with the way basketball is played today.
McNutt did not deliver the kind of public apology her critics demanded, and her decision not to retreat allowed the argument to continue. Sports personalities and commentators attacked ESPN for supposedly allowing identity-driven discussions to overshadow a player who was bringing attention, viewers, merchandise sales, and financial energy into the WNBA. Some writers argued that Clark's impact should be celebrated instead of constantly being explained through privilege, politics, or resentment. However, harsh opinions about McNutt are not evidence that Clark filed a lawsuit against her.
Two things. I think it has to show up in our storytelling, and it has to be encouraged by our families.
Yeah.
To me, right? And so covering the WNBA this past season, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, for all of the conversation that surrounded her, some which was fair and some which wasn't, the one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her, little girls with their parents, and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games, but I think Caitlin represented. And again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. But I do think same thing with folks that may have fallen in love with Angel Reese that she may or may not have agreed with everything they had to say either. We attach our fandom to these icons for all types of reasons.
Former black players have decided, hey, we're going to hate on Caitlin Clark constantly to elevate ourselves, but also trigger her fans so that they'll keep coming to games and rooting for her, and it's going to elevate the entire league.
As the discourse became more hostile, some fans began linking media criticism to the physical treatment Clark received during games. They pointed to hard fouls, confrontations, trash talk, and other aggressive moments, arguing that repeated portrayals of Clark as a symbol of privilege could encourage resentment. That remains an interpretation rather than an established chain of cause and effect. Basketball is physical, rivalries are intense, and it is extremely difficult to prove that a commentator's remarks caused another player's behavior on the court.
You women of the WNBA will get past your racism, past your sexism, and see a woman that just freaking balls like we like to see people play basketball.
This atmosphere made the lawsuit rumor feel believable to many supporters. After months of criticism, physical games, heated television debates, and viral arguments, people were ready for a dramatic moment in which Clark supposedly stood up and declared that enough was enough. The surprising legal story fit the emotional expectations of the audience, even though the public evidence did not support it. What began as legitimate disagreement about media commentary was repackaged as a courtroom battle that apparently never happened.
She shoots logo threes, passes the ball like Magic Johnson, scores a lot of points, leads the league in assists. She's a great, great player, and she plays and shoots and releases the ball like Steph Curry. So there's the attraction to the exciting style of play. A'ja Wilson should be centered, and they should be celebrating her. And all the little white girls should want to be like A'ja Wilson. Little black girls don't want to be like A'ja Wilson.
Viral posts described Clark as a quiet but determined superstar who had supposedly sued McNutt for defamation, racial hostility, reputational damage, and the creation of public animosity. The language was designed to sound official and intimate, presenting the situation as something far more serious than another public relations dispute. Yet dramatic wording cannot replace a court filing, an attorney's statement, a report from a credible news organization, or confirmation from Clark herself.
She's different. She's a white girl from the middle of corn country.
They like Caitlin Clark because she's not a victim, because she doesn't seem to be angry. And so they find her relatable.
Other versions of the rumor claimed that the imaginary lawsuit centered on McNutt's repeated suggestion that Clark's popularity depended more on her whiteness and relatability than on merit. Those posts presented the BBC comments as the central piece of evidence and claimed Clark's attorneys considered them deliberately deceptive and professionally damaging. Again, none of those supposed legal details should be treated as fact without authentic documentation, identifying the court, the case number, the attorneys, and the specific causes of action.
Yet, instead of appreciating Clark for leading the WNBA out of the abyss and into the mainstream conversation, mean girls and race clowns met her with resistance. Because Caitlin Clark's white, that's why little girls have gravitated towards her. I think what she's saying is ridiculous, and to tie it to little girls, you're going as low as humanly possible at this.
The most sensational versions went even further. They claimed Clark blamed McNutt for increased hostility from the media, greater aggression on the court, ridicule during interviews, and attempts by rival players to diminish her accomplishments. These stories allege that McNutt had transformed Clark into a target by presenting her as a symbol of racial privilege. Such accusations would be extraordinarily difficult to prove legally, and no verified complaint has emerged showing that Clark actually made them.
WNBA's attendance had a record-breaking high in 20 years with a total of 2.3 million fans attending games. You know what the increase was from 2024 to 2023 in attendance? 48%. That's massive. That's the Caitlin Clark effect.
Phenomenon, yeah.
If Caitlin Clark gets injured, it's over with.
The rumor also claimed that McNutt had reinforced the idea that success in women's basketball should only be celebrated when it aligns with certain political or cultural expectations. It referenced the enormous increases in attention, attendance, merchandise demand, television audiences, and visibility connected to Clark's career, presenting those developments as proof that she had revitalized the league. Then came the most theatrical allegation. Unnamed insiders supposedly saw McNutt crying after receiving the lawsuit and panicking because an ordinary media appearance had become a legal crisis. Stories relying on anonymous insiders, emotional imagery, and non-existent documents should immediately raise suspicion. Without reliable evidence, the crying claim is nothing more than an unverified embellishment designed to make the rumor more clickable.
Every single one of you WNBA players, you better pray that Caitlin Clark doesn't get injured, because she's keeping your league afloat.
Juju Watkins goes down with a devastating injury that might keep her out next season. God forbid. If the same thing happens to Caitlin Clark, the WNBA will not survive. You have one young woman carrying the entire league. And Monica McNutt and her pretend friends in the media, they are doing everything they can to piss off her fan base.
Had a real lawsuit of this scale been filed, it could have affected Clark, McNutt, ESPN, the WNBA, and the wider debate surrounding race, gender, fame, and responsibility in sports media. But that hypothetical impact does not make the story true. Clark has every right to defend herself publicly, correct inaccurate narratives, and express frustration with the way she is portrayed. She also has the legal right to pursue action if someone makes genuinely defamatory factual claims about her. What cannot be done responsibly is to invent that legal action on her behalf and present it as something she has already chosen. Clark's actual achievements are powerful enough without fictional court documents, fabricated sources, or imaginary behind-the-scenes breakdowns. Monica McNutt remains at the center of a genuine public controversy over her commentary. But the claim that she is facing a confirmed defamation lawsuit from Caitlin Clark is unsupported. Commentary can be criticized, challenged, or condemned without manufacturing a career-ending legal battle. As this media dispute continues, one lesson is unmistakable. Caitlin Clark is changing the WNBA, but viral creators are also changing how quickly misinformation moves through sports culture. Tell us where you stand in the debate over Clark, McNutt, representation, and media responsibility. Share your opinion in the comments. Press the like button if you value evidence over sensationalism, and subscribe because this larger conversation is nowhere near finished. Until next time, keep your attention on the court, question dramatic headlines, remain authentic, and stay sharp.